Welcome to Whisper Walls, a series presented by Word Limit. In a world crawling towards an apocalypse, all that may remain are the stories that can help rebuild. A group of immigrants believe that a car they stole is more than just a car. What started as a harmless obsession turns into something far bigger, something dangerous, and when a body turns up, it becomes impossible to ignore. This is Illegal Avatars, Wave 1. If you enjoy these stories, please visit us at wordlimit.com or follow us on X at wordlimit or on Instagram at wordlimitpod. Now settle in. This story will grab your attention with a 23-word limit.
I have been requested 1,000 times for an interview on this, and I have never had any interest in talking about it. Yes, I knew about that car we all thought came from outer space, the alien car. Did I know my coworker stole it? Yes. Did I drive it? Maybe. Did I snitch on every single one of them? Of course. I'm a grown-ass man. I don't have ideas about street rules, and I sure as hell don't give a pony's butt about vloggers and streamers. So I'll just get the story out here on what happened. And before I begin, I just want to say I am not racist. I have many friends from Bailopia, but come on, there were just too many of these guys coming from Bailopia. Like no one found it odd that one day that our city just became medium Bolapia. Not little Bolapia, but pretty much medium to large Bolapia. Tell me I am lying. Before the third wave of deportations, there was a moment that you could go outside and hold your breath until you see a Bolapian walk by, and you would have been fine. Which is ironic because I often held my breath when a Bolapian walked by. I am not racist. But my kids go to school with these Bolapian kids. I remember when a kid had a weird name, we all made fun of them. Have you seen these names lately? There are 4 kids' names with Lickcock at my son's school. Did you hear that? Lickcock. Apparently it's pronounced Lee Ko, but come on, so easy for the picking. But our society was crumbling, man. There were 4 kids with this name, and apparently none of them were related. But it's my kid, Jacob Fuma, that gets made fun of because his name is similar to the former corrupt South African president. I am not racist. I just don't like the place they're from. I hate people from Philadelphia, so what does that make me? I'm not racist. Maybe I'm just a placeist. I am not racist. I'm just upset. I work with Bolapian guys at my security firm. It's a house alarm security firm, pretend police. We're the alarm force that gets notified if your house gets broken into before the real police come. We don't have guns or anything, just armed with a loud voice yelling, "The police are on their way!" It's like the COVID police they had a few years ago to deal with COVID-related matters. I'm not a racist, or anything, but I swear that many times we get alerted about break-ins, it's Bolapians we find. And it's usually my security company who hires entirely Bolapians confronting the Bolapian trespassers. I am sure there is a life message in that, but I am maybe too ignorant to care. I'm not racist. I'm a Canadian tired. I'm an elevator that's doors has been held open too long, and too many Bolapians exceeding the weight limit have squeezed in, forgetting about their dental and body hygiene. I'm fed up. Maybe I'm effed up, but I'm not racist. Sometimes I may have racist thoughts, but I'm not outwardly racist. I get upset and sad. How unfair is it that I can't say the N-word? I just want to sing along to Juicy by Biggie without having to censor myself, but that's about it. I have no regrets though in what I did. It all started one night. We got a call. Someone was snooping around in the backyard. Someone, same protocol, we checked the video, see if it's an animal. Couldn't really identify. Saw some shadowy figures. meaning we would have to go out to patrol. So I went out with Grayton from Eastern Bolapia, as opposed to Grayton from Central Bolapia. The property was a strange one. Small house but enormous shed. We looked around and found nothing. We knocked on the door just to check in. It was an older couple, a little frightening, and we asked them if they were fine. They nodded and told us they heard a commotion in the backyard. So we went to check it out, but saw nothing. But from the shed we saw some flickering. We crept near the door to see if we can look through. We saw a large space, not sure what these old folks used it for, but there it stood, an older Lincoln. Found out it was a 1976 Lincoln Continental to be exact. I didn't find anything unique about it. For some reason, my immigrant friend was mesmerized. He cracked open the door and touched that hunk of junk like he was getting to second base. I'm surprised he didn't get lead poisoning. With that said, he looked inside, and when he looked back at me, it was like he found the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail being an ashtray filled with cancerous dust. I tried to get him to snap out of it while we patrolled the rest of the property, but it was like he was in a trance. So I tried to talk to Graydon from Eastern Bolapia on the drive back to the office, but he was just looking ahead, not saying anything until he said to me, "The car we saw was not a car." He said it was a spaceship. He couldn't explain it. He didn't have his thoughts together. He was still in shock, and I saw that thing. It was not a spaceship, but even I started to get convinced. I wanted him to explain more, but honestly, I was getting tired breathing through my mouth while he spoke. Every word was like a Mike Tyson punch to the nostril, so I stayed silent the rest of the way. I've always wished my job came with dental benefits. Not for me, but for moments like this. I'd happily fund a coworker's root canal if it meant I could talk to them without needing to socially distance like it's 2020 again. So when Grayton from Eastern Bolapia got back to the office, he gathered everyone around and told them what happened. I stood to listen, but with a safe distance from his breath. Again, it was very convincing, but what got me was how the rest of the team just believed it. It was all cool to them, and none of them confirmed with me. When I came back the next day, I couldn't believe my eyes. They stole the effing car. That rusted up, beat up piece of crap was in the visitors' parking at the property. They stole it. They told me they bought it from the couple, but these guys couldn't afford a $2 two-piece Tuesday at KFC. I knew they stole it. I really thought about reporting these idiots to the police and maybe have gotten them deported, but their idiotic dedication to this was entertaining in itself. I wish they had the same dedication to not eating my food in the fridge, but it was something to behold. One of the guys I was most surprised by all of this was the doctor. So this guy was an actual doctor, a PhD that could apparently prescribe you things. He showed me various papers and studies he's published. He was a minister of health back home and working part-time with me here. Sad, but that's life. However, he seemed the most convincing and at times leading the team in their activities. The doctor explained the Bolapians' motivation to me. It seems like the Bolapians, before their country got ruined by their fourth civil war, were really into space travel. They had the means and the resources for it, but it got pillaged during their civil wars and the aftermath of it. So they were always into space and astronomy. They were also convinced that they had come in contact with alien beings. So for whatever reason, this car they all got to believing was from out of space. And the end game for fixing the car then, when the doctor told me, and it is ridiculous when I say it now, they wanted to start the spaceship because they wanted to fly the car back to its home planet. The idea was that if they could get it working, fly back to its planet, they can immigrate there. To them, there was no home here, and the home they left was no more. How bad could living and rebuilding on another planet be, they thought, and to them it might be an easier challenge. It was sad when you think about it, but my parents were immigrants too. You make of this country what you can. You can't be trying to Babylon 5 your way out of here. And that's how I thought anyways. That is until later that week, We got a call from a storage facility that we had a contract with. There were apparently a lot of loitering going on around these storage units. I went with my usual nutty partner, Grayton from Eastern Balapia. Hopefully, this time it wasn't more space lasers to find, which honestly should have been better than what we did find. The call was about a lot of noises coming from some of the larger units. We got the keys and started going through some of them. Didn't really find anything aside from raccoons and rodents until we opened the last unit. There lay a dead body. The smell was rough on the nose. Everyone presumed they were dead because of the smell. I needed a little bit of convincing, as I've smelled worse back in the office, but yeah, he was dead, all right. And came into a bit of shock when I realized the person there dead was our beloved doctor. I just worked with him a couple of days prior, but he had died in the storage unit. The doctor had made the storage space his living quarters. When I thought about it, I couldn't help but be sad. This man was probably living like a king back home and acknowledged for his brilliance. And here he was, working with someone like me. I'm having to live in a storage locker. I guess now actually die in a storage locker. My partner did not take it well. He was angry. I don't think he knew where to place his anger, but I understood it. He wanted time alone with the body. We called an ambulance and they took the body. There was no ceremony. I was invited for the doctor. Balapians don't invite non-Balapians, and they don't bury either. I didn't understand the ritual, but from what I understand is that they would go to nearby woods and do their own personal cremation by placing them in a campfire. Don't know how legal that is, but legality hasn't stopped them from doing other things. These guys did that ceremony for the doctor, but it was never the same after that. They got super hyper into fixing this car and spaceship. They started it, pushed it down the hills, tried to configure the controls. I do not know what they were seeing, but it looked like an ordinary car to me. But it was hope for them. As stupid as this idea was to me, I kind of understood it, especially with the doctor's death. I was kind of motivated to help too. At that time, I wish I could have done one last conversation with the doctor. The Balapian co-workers were looking for weird things such as large starlights you put on Christmas trees for headlights, maps of galaxies, among other nonsensical things. I helped with some of this. We were able to start the car with all the stuff added to it, but again, it was no spaceship. I was with them until they started talking about uranium. They said the only way to fuel the car was with uranium. I wasn't sure where you could get uranium, but I don't think stores were just selling them over the counter. When it got into this portion of their plan is when they started to be a little secretive with me, which is fine. I didn't want to be part of that plan anyways, and that's what I told the different agencies when they asked me about what happened. They kept me out of the loop. I could have told on them there when they started planning, and maybe I should have, but I didn't. When I would go on night patrols, my partner didn't join me anymore. He preferred the day shifts, and there was a day when I came in and that car was gone. They must have moved it. I was kind of annoyed that they started to block me on what their plans were, but that's what frustrated me about the Balapians. They never wanted to include others. We were expected to include them in this country, but they did everything themselves. It's probably tradition to not have foreigners at a death ceremony, but damn it, that doctor was my friend too. Whatever. I still didn't rat on the car. I ratted when I went on my night patrol by myself. Something inspired me to go to that shed where the car was from the beginning. I remember walking by that little house and it looked like it was abandoned. I walked over to the shed, and when I looked inside that hangar-sized shed, I saw barrels and barrels. I saw the car, along with a whole bunch of other older cars. I saw Ford Pintos, Cadillac Eldorados, Chevy Suburbans, all old and dusty. Must have been hundreds, and the barrels? I didn't understand it. Was it uranium and other chemicals? When I went inside, I could see the familiar alarm being tripped from my company. I tried to alert them I was already there, but no one responded. In the distance, I see a bunch of cars coming in, and it didn't look friendly to me. This was one of those moments where my instinct told me to get the hell up out of there. I got back in and rushed home. I didn't even want to go back to the office. I remember sleeping in my kids' rooms when there was a knock on the door. I went and saw it was some federal agents. They took me in for some questioning. They interrogated me about domestic terrorism and my involvement in it. I had no idea what they were talking about, but I told them everything I told you here. They talked about the massive car thefts that was happening, but it seemed like they were only stealing old cars that no one cared about. The victims could just collect the insurance money. I laid it out to them, and they put me on a lie detector and all of that. They believed me. I told them to check out the shed, and they let me go. So, as you know from the news, they arrested the co-workers from my company, but they couldn't find my partner, Grayton, from Eastern Bolapia. He disappeared, and not just him, the whole shed was gone. No trace of it. Not a grease oil stain, nothing. Were they able to make these spaceships fly? Was what my dumbass was thinking. I had to take some leave to recover from all of this. I took the family around the world. I honestly wanted to take them to Bolapia to see all of its garbage glory, but I took them to another part of Canada where the Balapians had taken over. When we got there, it was having that nostalgia of being back home, seeing the familiar sights and the awful smells. I even felt compelled to visit one of our security partner offices. I didn't want to go inside, but I just wanted to observe. I am not a racist or anything, but all the Balapians look alike. It was a carbon copy of what I used to have back home. There was a representation of each person from my team, including the doctor, and that's when I realized it was the effing doctor. The piece of crap wasn't dead. Not only that, I saw my former partner, Grayton, from Eastern Bolapia. They both caught me staring and gave me a shh gesture. I gave them the finger. I called the police to have them arrested. Hope that fake death-having doctor confesses to what they were up to.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to our channel for more stories and series. Again, please follow us on X at WordLimit and Instagram at WordLimitPod, or visit us at wordlimit.com, where we strive to connect and never lose your attention.